Good morning from Hunt City Congregational Christian Church. Just a few brief thoughts this morning about something. What is life about? What is life about? That's our question for today. You might say it's about taxes, but no, life is about choices. Life is about choices. What clothes am I going to wear today? What food are we going to eat for supper? When am I going to accomplish the various tasks that I need to do? What will I think about people today? What will I say? What words will come out of my mouth today? Because sometimes I choose to say something and then I'll say, oh, I didn't mean to say that. Well, yes, I did. I chose to say it. I chose to let those words escape my lips. I want to look at a scripture this morning. Deuteronomy 30:6-19 says, "And the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all that you may live. Also the Lord will put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you. And you will again obey the voice of the Lord and do all his commandments, which I command you today. The Lord your God will make you abound in all your work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, in the increase of your livestock, and in the produce of your land for good. For the Lord will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey the voice of the Lord your God to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in the book of the law, and you turn to the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, for this commandment which I command you today is not too mysterious for you, nor is it far off. It's not in heaven that you should say, who will ascend into heaven for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? Nor is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. In that I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away so that you do not hear, or are drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I announce to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you cross over Jordan to go in and possess. I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that you and your descendants may live." Choices. We have some friends who have a foster child that they're in the process of adopting. He's a great kid. He is intelligent. He's a good little athlete. He's taking music lessons. He's thriving in so many ways, but he has a temper, and sometimes the kids will tease him, or he will perceive someone's teasing him, and he will erupt in anger. And so we talk about choices. We talk about choices. Do we make good choices? And I know that they're talking to him about his choices, but that's just not him. That's all of us. Every day we make all these choices. We make all these choices. We have choices because we're made in God's image. God has choices. And I'm thankful that he chose to make a way for us to be saved, even with all of our bad choices that we make. You know, when God used Moses to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, they had a choice. Are they going to follow him? Well, Moses had a choice. Am I going to do this or not? He did. He made some excuses, but he went. The children of Israel made a choice. Are we going to believe this guy? Are we going to follow him? Well, they did. They saw the signs that God did. They followed Moses. But when they reached a certain point, in Exodus 13:11, God says something to the effect of, I'm going to have Moses lead them this way and not go through this country, because the people there are warring people. And I'm afraid if the children of Israel have some hardship, they might choose to go back to Egypt. That's in Exodus 13:11. You can look that up. So, choice, follow Moses, stay or leave. They did. In the wilderness, stay in the wilderness or go back. They kept following Moses. Obey or don't obey. Well, we know while they were in the wilderness, there were instances where they did not obey, and they paid for it. All through the Bible, it talks about the choices that we make. Joshua said to the children of Israel in Joshua 24:15, he said, "And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." There's a choice to serve. There's a choice to believe. There's a choice to serve. Jesus called his disciples to follow him. They did. Later, they chose to abandon him in his time of deep distress and need. Later, they chose again to follow him and serve him to death, till death. In John 10:18, Jesus chose to die on the cross. He said, no one, talking about his life, he says, no one takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down again, and I have power to take it again. This command I've received from my Father. Jesus had a choice whether to go through. Remember, he prayed in the garden, Lord, if there's some other way, that would be great, but not my will, but thine be done. The two thieves on the cross, even at the point of death, had a choice. Some people don't believe in deathbed conversions or somebody, accepting the Lord right before they die. But I believe that my God can save anyone, anytime, in any way that he chooses to, because he is God. And so here's these two thieves on the cross, almost at the point of death. And you remember one of them said, if you are the Christ, I think it's in Mark, if you are the Christ, save yourself and save us. You know what? That almost sounds like when Satan tempted Jesus in the wilderness. It says, if you are the Christ, if you are the Son of God, do this. This one thief chose to put this to Jesus. And I'm wondering, I'm not stating this as fact, I'm just asking this as a question. Was this Satan's last attempt to defeat Jesus? If you are the Christ, save yourself and us. But the other thief chose to believe that Jesus was who he said he was. He says, Lord, or he says to the first thief, hey, we're getting just punishment for our crimes. This man has done nothing. And he says, Lord, remember me when you enter your kingdom. And Jesus says, today you'll be with me in paradise. So the first thief said, basically, I'll believe it if you physically save me now. The message of the gospel is believe and be saved. Believe first. Don't require a sign. Believe first, and then follow the Lord. The message in the gospel is the same. Believe, and be saved. One time a man came to Jesus. His name was Jairus. He was a ruler in the synagogue, and he had a sick child. And he came to Jesus and he said, Master, my daughter is sick, but if you will come, you can heal her. And so Jesus was going with him to his house. And that's when the woman in the crowd, the woman touched the hem of his garment, and he had that interaction with her. He says, your faith has made you well. And then some of Jairus' friends came and said, your daughter's dead. Don't trouble the master any longer. And the first thing Jesus said, he looks at Jairus and he says, don't be afraid, only believe. Don't fear, only believe. It doesn't give us Jairus' reaction, but I believe that he believed Jesus. They went to Jairus' house, and Jesus raised his daughter from the dead. He brought her back to life. I believe Jairus chose to believe. Every day you and I choose how we see people. We talk about great matters of faith and reading our Bible and praying, but a lot of our life comes down to choosing how we're going to see people we interact with today. Some people we like or even love. Others we simply don't care about, or maybe even we don't like them, or dare I say, even hate them. We choose to see people with their flaws. That's a choice. We choose not to see them as how God sees them, created in his image and loved by him. It's your choice and mine. And we are the hypocrites if we say we love God and we don't love other people. There are many people that I don't see them in a good light, and I really need to work on that myself. I'm not condemning anyone here. I'm condemning myself. When Jesus prayed in the garden, Lord, let this cup pass from me, but if not, let your will be done. he also gave us that teaching in the Lord's Prayer where he says, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done. And I read a man wrote this week, I don't know when it was written, but I just read it this week, and I'd give credit if I knew who it was. He said, for God's will to be done, my will has to be undone. Now think about that. That's pretty deep. For God's will to be done, my will has to be undone. Closing out with that passage in Deuteronomy again, where it said, the word of the Lord, it's not something that's mysterious, it's far away. The ideas that God teaches us, and we want to go after and we want to learn the mysterious things and all the deep things, and we overlook the little things, because it says here in Deuteronomy, the word's not far from you. It's not way up in the heaven that you can't reach it. It's not across the sea that you can't get to it. It's in our mouths and it's in our hearts if we are God's child. And that should affect the choices that we make every day. I'm praying for you, and you pray for me, that we'll all make good choices in the week ahead. Life's about choices. Make good ones. Have a great week.